start with infrastructure because it's kind of breaking as we speak. Earlier in the week, I believe it was Tuesday morning, late Tuesday night, early Tuesday morning, the Senate passed 69-30. The one, I think that's right, 69-30. Let me check that real quick because that number doesn't look right. Hold on, let me look at this real quick. I feel like that's right, though, because I remember saying, oh, wow, that's actually more Republican support than I thought there was. Yeah, 69-30. So 69-30 means all the Democrats and a good number of Republicans actually voted for this bill, which was surprising at face value. But then when you look into it, it's really not that surprising when you think of how much corporate interest is involved in this bill and, the privatization of a lot of public works, the complete strip and removal of the Climate Corps and all that. It doesn't really surprise me that Republicans would want to go along with this, considering the fact that the midterms are coming up soon, and then they can go back to their constituents and they can say, hey, look, in the $1.2 trillion infrastructure plan, look at how much money I got for investments in roads and bridges and water and everything else for our community. It's smart. So the bill now moves to the House, where the House will get its turn to look at it and change and tweak. I don't think there'll be very many tweaks because there are some House members, some rank-and-file Democrats in the House that are pushing Nancy Pelosi to move this bill to a vote immediately or sooner than planned. Pelosi had come out and said the House will not vote on the $1 trillion plan until the Senate passes the larger $3.5 trillion infrastructure plan that they're now calling a human infrastructure bill. And in that bill, there's a lot more good things, in my view, in it. So right now, what we know is in the $1 trillion plan that just passed the Senate, there is 550 about. You'll see some different numbers on this depending on where you look, but there's about $550 billion of new spending. $110 billion for roads and bridges, $66 billion for rail, $65 billion for power grid, $65 billion for broadband, which is essential in my opinion. That's one of my favorite things in this bill is having the ability to get high-speed internet access to the rural communities that don't have them. Very good. Some water infrastructure, $55 billion, including replacing lead pipes in old buildings, I guess. $39 billion for public transportation, $25 billion for airports, $21 billion for pollution cleanup, $17 billion for ports, and $7.5 billion for electronic vehicle charging stations. So like I said, this bill now moves to the House. Nancy Pelosi is saying that the House will not vote until the Senate passes the larger $3.5 trillion plan, but there are a lot of Democrats in the House that are trying to push for this bill to be signed by the House, passed by the House, that way it can go to the president. And I believe they want to get this passed and signed by Joe Biden before the August recess, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. That way they can go back home for the recess in between their donor meetings. Don't get that confused. They'll go back home for their constituents and they'll have town halls and meetings with people of their community. And the people obviously are going to have questions and they will be able to say, look, the $1 trillion infrastructure plan passed. Here's how much money and funding I got for our community. Here's what we're going to invest in. It's a slow process, but everything's moving along, to kind of ease the nerves because there's a lot of people who are getting upset that this is taking so long. Because remember, when Joe Biden was elected in January, he said this was one of his big, main Biden agenda things, was passing these two infrastructure packages. So the first one is almost there. The larger $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation plan, that one we are going to see a lot more political fighting over because it is not just a, quote, roads and bridges bill. There are provisions in the bill that I believe shouldn't even be argued over, but we're arguing over them anyway. So in this, the budget is coming from Bernie Sanders through Jeff Stein, who's a Washington Post reporter on Twitter. So Bernie Sanders says the budget reconciliation plan includes the child tax benefit being extended, universal pre-K, paid family and medical leave, tuition-free community college, lowering prescription drug costs, expanding Medicare to include dental, hearing, and vision, housing, home care, major money for climate change, immigration reform. Also, we are looking at lowering the Medicare age, Obamacare expansion, increasing the physical supply. I don't know what that means in the Obamacare expansion. He says too many climate/clean energy plans to summarize in one tweet. And there will be new revenue from a beefed up IRS tax enforcement, raising taxes on wealthy individuals, raising taxes on corporations, fees on polluters, and Medicare negotiations. Lowering the drug costs, part of that is allowing Medicare to negotiate with drug companies the cost of prescription drugs. Because right now in America, by the way, we're the only Western advanced first world country on planet Earth who allows the drug companies to tell us what we pay for medicine. In every other country, the government says, no, this is how much it costs to make. This is how much you're allowed to sell it for, because healthcare is a human right, not a privilege. But we're the only country who doesn't believe in that, I guess. Whatever. So these are good things in the larger $3.5 trillion plan. And now we say we don't know the finer details yet. The Senate is just now starting to get moving on the larger package. I do remember I was pessimistic that Congress would vote even on one before the recess. I guess I was wrong. Hands up. I got that wrong. A little bit too cynical on my end. But to be fair, nothing really happened yet. The House still has to go over the $1 trillion plan, and then the $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation still has to be finalized, voted on, passed through the Senate, which is going to be a hell of a time because there are a lot of, we'll say, moderate Democrats, but I call them Republicans in disguise. There's a lot of them who are going to fight this because they either don't want to spend that much money, they don't want to do whatever it is on climate because they're, bought and paid for by big oil companies. We saw a couple weeks ago, I did the segment, pretty much everyone who it's even in the know about this kind of thing did a segment on the ExxonMobil lobbyist who was caught on camera talking about how he buys politicians and shit. So, the climate stuff, we'll see if that goes through. But the Senate passed the Roads and Bridges bill, but it will still be probably until September or maybe even October before both bills are on Biden's desk. That's just my prediction. Because, the House has to do the $1 trillion, pass that. There is an argument with Democrats in the House right now between Nancy Pelosi and other leadership. They want to rush the vote fast. Nancy doesn't want to. She wants to take time and not maybe even vote on it this month yet. So there's that. They're doing construction on the floor above me. I don't know if you heard that. They're replacing carpets and countertops. Somebody just moved out. Anyway, so there's that in the House. There's that argument on when to even vote on the first bill. And then the Senate has to finish the second bill, vote on it, amend it, argue it, debate it on the floor, pass it. Then it goes to the House. They get their chance to reconcile with it. They do their thing. Then it gets passed. And then it goes to Biden. So, October is probably best case scenario. But because of the fact that they're about to go out of town, them being Congress. But it would not shock me if the bills are signed together like planned, but not until December, November maybe. You have a long process ahead, like I just described. Also, we have to hold on, I lost my place and where my notes were. Oh, we don't want to forget also that House progressives like AOC and the Squad, they're saying that they are prepared to tank both bills, the entire plan, if the $3.5 trillion reconciliation plan doesn't have things on the progressive agenda like climate, free PK, community college, the tax credit, they're threatening that if the $3.5 trillion bill doesn't have those in it, and either the parliamentarian or Joe Manchin or Sinema or whoever wants to strip those out of the bill, then there are, approximately 8 or 10 people in the House, that Democrats in the House, that are saying, then if you don't pass those through the $3.5 trillion bill, then we're not going to vote yes on the $1 trillion bill. Which is a good display of leverage. I mean, I in the past have criticized the Squad for being really good on Twitter, but when it comes down to their voting record and matching what they say in public, they haven't really used their leverage in the best way that they can to pass the progressive items on their agenda that they say they want to pass. But almost all of them that I've seen on Twitter and Instagram and, just throughout news articles I've been reading about them talking in public, they're saying that if these progressive agenda items that Bernie Sanders has fought really hard for in the Senate, in this $3.5 trillion reconciliation plan, if those aren't there, they're not going to vote for the Roads and Bridges bill. And with the House being so divided, the House only holds a 3-vote margin, the Democrats in the House. And there's going to be a lot of Republicans that aren't going to vote for the Roads and Bridges bill. They're just not going to do it. Same thing with the reconciliation plan. There's a huge number of Republicans who probably I would bet 90% don't vote for it. Total in both houses, Senate and the House of Representatives. I could see 0 voting for it. So that means if these 8 or 10 progressives are like, you didn't put the climate change, pre-K, community college tax credit in the reconciliation plan, so fuck your Roads and Bridges bill. That'll tank the whole thing. That'll tank the whole shebang.